That's a crime. Okay. Hi, this is Torah Shem for the day of February the 3rd, 2016. We're giving some background in the oral Torah, and we are in a Ger Light series looking at Devarim 24:17. Okay. Hi, this is Torah Shem for the day of February the 3rd, 2016. We're giving some background in the oral Torah, and we are in a Ger Light series looking at Devarim 24:17 and Devarim 27:19. And we're just talking about the oral Torah, so we forgot to push the record button, but if you're listening at a later date, you didn't really miss much. And what we're saying is that the pshat of the Torah, we're looking at the ger verse, the ger, the widow, the orphan, all these things. It just became, ger convert is, call it 1A. Not in terms of better, just got to call it something. Let's call it 1A. And the rabbis of the Midrash Halacha, commentaries on the Chumash, they said that maybe drush, the drush, as in pardes, pshat, remez, drush, sod, give me one or two, 4 levels of exegesis. You guys with me? Anybody with a 2 on this? 4 levels of exegesis. Simple meaning, hint, allegorical, secret. Jacques, with me on this? David Doan, where are you at on this? 4 levels of exegesis, pardes. And again, they kind of recognize the pshat, and then they're going to say, let's look at the hint, and then they're going to say, let's look at the allegorical, let's look at the secret. But that's one school. That's one school. There's another school. There's many schools. Another school is don't put it in a pardes system. Just call it drush. Drush in halakhic terms means alternative understanding. You understand what I'm saying here? There's a way of looking at the Torah alternatively. Jacques, when we say Nasa v'nishma, can you understand how that would lend to a pshat in some camps? And another way of looking at it could lend to a drush. And drush is not less valid. It's just an alternative view. I'm asking you, Jacques, because you did a very good job of finding it in Parshas Jethro. You with me? Can you conceptualize what I'm saying? There's a simple, standard pshat way of looking at it, and a way to sit back and say, let's look at this a little different. Right? Let's look at it a little different. You see that vav in front of the word? Did you see that vav? Did you see that letter hey? Did you see the hyphen? That's saying something. And they would learn this stuff. Okay. So, in Shemot and in Vayikra and in Bamidbar and in Devarim, the rabbis of the Talmud, the same rabbis, all your friends, Rabbi Kiva, Rabbi Meir, they looked at the verses of the Torah and they worked out halachic consequences by not changing the text, right? But changing the view. Now, the Midrash, which comes from the same word drush, is the same thing. Only it's not halacha. Now, do you understand why we call this Midrash halacha? Midrash is trying to say, and once upon a time, Noah stepped out of the ark. What was the ark? The ark was a throwback to the angels of creation, because God said, hey, ark is an angel. And the angel said, yeah, it's an ark. And that's why Noah stepped out of the ark. Remember when Rabbi Meir said that? Everybody won? Remember that? Remember Midrash Rabbi Meir said that? Remember? One, hello? One? Right? Come on. You remember it. Yes, you do. Pam, you remember it. It was there. Right? It just was. Just say one. It was there. It was just say one. All right. It's just kind of a fantastic discourse from the Midrash. That's what I'm trying to convey. You follow me? It was just, angels were great and they were singing when Noah left the ark. Remember that, Jacques? Remember when the angels were singing? It was great. And then Shem looked at Noah and said, you are my father. Here it's a different story. Here we're not talking about angels and arks and harps and Michael. We're talking about halacha. Is it ger tzedek or is it ger toshav? You understand the difference of the two kinds of drush? One is saying, do we take it literal, human, or do we drush it allegorically to say, when it says gate, the ger in your gate, it's actually the gates of Shemayim. I'm not saying this literally. You hear what I'm saying. Midrash would say, yes, the ger somehow stands in the gates of Shemayim. Because the angels in Shemayim are called ger. You follow me? This is all hypothetical. And in the Midrash Halacha, it's not like that. It's saying the ger in your gate. Okay, is it the ger tzedek or ger toshav? I think the pshat is ger tzedek. But it could be a ger toshav. Jacques with me, 1 or 2. David Dome, everybody. Hey, James, good to see you. Where are we all at? Yeah? Jacques, where are we at? If you're telling me, if you don't get it, ask me now or forever hold your peace. All right. So now we're going to look at our verse with Midrash Halacha. So what do we know for a fact? It's not going to be talking about harps and angels and Michael. You guys follow that? This book will not have harps in it or halos or wings. What will it have? It will have ger tzedeks and ger toshavs and gers in your gates and ger gamor and ger ksat and all of your friends in the Talmudic world. Let's go. Let's now see the goal or the agenda is, let's see if Rashi's commentary was taken from this commentary, because generally Rashi is not unique. He didn't write anything unique hardly. What he did was he copied and pasted, not from the Talmud Bavli, but from the greater world of oral Torah that people don't tell you exists. Capiche? I would have thought there's only the Talmud. Turns out there's Midrash Halacha, there's a Gadata, there's the Yerushalmi, there's a world out there, and Rashi was one of these rabbis that conquered the shtetl, right? And therefore he didn't have to write anything new. That tradition was there. It's only a surprise to us today because we think Talmud Bavli's it, and we're never even told that the rest of the oral Torah exists. Here's a little secret for y'all. Where do you think the ger Torah comes from? Now you follow what I'm saying? Where do you think the ger Torah is coming from? It comes from the Talmud Bavli, but guess where it also comes from? The entire oral Torah. You see now? There's a huge oral Torah out there, and the ger is all about it. So when they say, "Oh, I don't know, I never learned a Gemara like that," well, did you learn? You've learned 1% of the oral Torah, and you're telling me that you have mastered the entire oral Torah. Well, we don't paskin from those other books. Really? Really? Where do you think the Rishonim get all their words from? Let me give you a little hint. It's not the Talmud Bavli. There's a little hint. So we're going to prove it right now. Right? We're going to find out where Rashi got his words from. Hopefully here. If it's not here, we'll get it somewhere else. Let's go ahead and refresh on Rashi since it's on the page here in my book. Lo tita mishpa ger yaitim v'al ha'ashir kvar huzar lo tita mishpa v'shana ba'ani ba'avor ala b'shnei lavin. I know it doesn't mean much to you right now. I'm babbling in Hebrew. I want to see if we can match it up in the Sifri. Let's go. All right, we found the Sifri commentary on the page. And there's a verse. Ma ani tzarich ma Talmud loimer. To the page. Below kavar ne'amar alti the mishpat melamed shekol amata dino shoger oiver v'beis lavin. V'lo chtichavo beged almana bein aniya bein ashira v'afilu. Okay. So we're seeing some of Rashi's words are in here. Some are in there. Let's compare. V'al ha'ashir. Ashira. Okay. So it's not so much. Rashi is not so much drawn from here. So it's going to be a question where he gets it from. The next place is Midrash Gadol. Usually, the Rishonim take from there, if not here. There's a couple of places that they hang out. Again, if somebody wants to bring up the Chabad.org, somebody please go to Chabad.org and bring the Rashi in English and post it in the chat room, please. Just for context. Someone's on that? Can I get a one, somebody? Somebody's on that? 2417. Please bring the Chabad.org commentary there. So we give a Midrash Gadol and see what they've done. This could be an elusive Rashi. we go. Pam, you want to read that while I'm doing this? Read it real slow. I just want to hear that Rashi. Please read that.
Okay, you shall not pervert the judgment of a stranger or orphan. Is that what I'm supposed to be reading?
Here in the chat window, yeah, the Rashi.
Okay. You shall not pervert the judgment of a stranger or an orphan, and concerning a wealthy person, meaning anyone not necessarily poor, one has already been warned. You shall not pervert judgment. Deuteronomy 16:19. However, Scripture repeats this prohibition here in reference to the poor man to make one transgress two negative commandments for perverting the justice due a poor man, since it is easier to pervert the judgment of a poor man than that of a rich man. Scripture admonishes and then repeats.
Yeah, okay, that's good. All right. Yeah, see, it's a bit wordy. That's why I had you guys read it. So now where I'm at, the Sifri Rashi wasn't so much going for Sifri. Sifri wasn't radically different, but it was not Rashi's words. So the question now, you guys, are you following the thread of thought here? We want to know, where did Rashi's words come from? Where's Rashi getting the oral Torah from? See what I'm saying? If Rashi's that shtetl rabbi, he's oral Torah it up, where is he getting it from? It's not his words. So we looked in the most logical place, and he didn't get it from there. So now we're going to plan B. You follow my question? Where did Rashi's words come from in the original oral Torah? You follow what I'm saying? 1 or 2. Where did Rashi's words come from? Because, why is it? The next question you're asking is, why does it matter? Because at the end of this little discourse, we're going to go to the Art Scroll, and we want to see if Art Scroll understood Rashi. And what's the consequence? Big consequence, isn't it? Big consequence. Did the English actually understand the Hebrew? So we're now in Midrash Gadol. It's kind of like Coke, Pepsi. We just looked in Coke, now we're going to Pepsi. You understand my analogy? Robin, I'll answer you. What I say? A lot of times the English does not capture the appropriate Hebrew. We find this all too often, more than we should. So okay. So let's go. Now we did Coke. Now we're doing the Pepsi version. Midrash Gadol. Again, it's just Rashi Tosfos. It's different. We are doing Deuteronomy 24:17, trying to find the true Rashi, just like we always do. Same thing. Lefi Pshuto, right? Trying to find the real Rashi. Let's go. Lo tita mishpat ger yitom. This is also kind of a ger light. This is one of our ger verses. There's a ger in our verse. We want to know who he is. And we're going to get there. Don't worry. We're just taking the long route. We're going to get there. All right. So Ben Aniya, Ben Ashira. That sounds very Rashi to me, everybody. This is sounding very Rashi to me. All right. So Va'al ha'ashir kavar huzar lo tita mishpat. And here we have here. What was it? What did I give? Malama shakol hamato dino shalager over b'shnei lavin v'ima yager yitam over b'shlosh lavin. So everyone's taking. Wow, why did Rashi do this? See, this is now we found a problem. This is a good problem. Well, this is a nice problem. Hold on a second. Bein aniya of al ha'ashir. Well, ashir kvar huzar al tita mishpat b'shana ba. Ba'ani la'avor ala v'shnei lavin lefi shenika latos mishpat ani yosim. So, okay, let me just tell you where I'm at, okay? By the way, Bill McLaughlin, Ohio State, Penn State's on any minute, I think. Just keep that in mind. If he's not there, if you let him know, please. This is very interesting. You all have the chat box that Pam read the Rashi, right? That's tonight. Get your dates right. It's important. You scroll up and look at the English Rashi, okay? I think it's tonight. Pardon me if it's wrong. I think it's tonight. Am I wrong? I thought I saw a I could be wrong. I posted on your wall. Oh man, that's weird. I was all excited to get the news. All right. Anyways, my bad. Scroll up and look at the Rashi. Everybody type 1 when you're there. Everyone type 1 when you're there. Do you see the words about the rich guy and the poor guy? Everyone type 1 when you got that. Just whatever it is, the rich guy and the poor guy. You don't need to know why, who, what, when, where, ding, dong, ding, 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 ding. Just identify. And you're all seeing that in our verse, right? That's verse 17, right? Just say yes, because it is. Right? Now, the problem is, and it's a good problem, but we have to ask ourselves why. Why is Rashi putting the poor guy and the rich guy in our verse? You're saying, okay, you're saying it's a question, Rabbi Katz, but why are you saying it's a question? Are y'all good? You're all good and confused and foggy? You should be all saying, why is that a question? That's not a question. That is not a question. I'll tell you why it's a question. Because my Pepsi and Coke over here, the Midrash Hagadol, which is one of the books of Midrash Halacha on the Oral Torah, along with the Sifri. You guys aware of that? We did a Sifri 5 minutes ago, and we're in the Midrash Hagadol right now, 1 or 2. We're looking for our verse in this Midrash Halacha commentary. They split our verse in 2 parts. There's the orphan and the ger, and then there's the widow. You understand this? I don't know why. The Tanaim said we're going to split the verse in half. Remember we talked about the conscious shift? They say there's a conscious shift. Don't pervert the judgment of the orphan ger. Stop! And don't mess up the garment of the widow. Stop! See that? Now, I don't know why they did it. But they're saying that the poor guy and the rich guy are with the widow. And Rashi is putting it with the ger. You see why it's peculiar? It's just a question, why? Why? Why is the precedent one way? And I don't know why they did it. I'm not concerned. We'll find that out whenever. But in Rashi, who, remember, I'm not looking in the original, so to speak. I'm a simple guy. I'm looking at Rashi on Chabad.org, right? This is you and me, isn't it? And we take it like, oh, yeah, sure. But why? Why did Rashi deviate from the tradition, or where did Rashi's words come from? And again, you can say, okay, wonderful. It's philosophically intriguing what you're saying. It doesn't change my life any bit. When we look at the art scroll, what are the chances it's going to be radically wrong? What are the chances? It's going to be radically wrong when we look. Keep that in the back of your mind. Right? I know it's theoretical now, but remember, what is it going to be in English when I go to check and I don't know if it's right or wrong until I know the theoretical question? 1 or 2. You guys with me? We got to do a song and dance to understand the end goal. If we just go to the end goal, we won't know the song and dance. So I've identified the problem, right? It's a theoretical problem. Why did Rashi do this? So here's what I have in the Midrash Hagadol. Let me get back my Sifri, and I'm going to show you what the standard tradition says. Forget Rashi. We're talking 1,000 years before Rashi. The beginning of it written. Are you curious to find out? Anybody not curious? All right. So let's go back to the Sifri and I'm just going to read to you. Robin, you're not curious? It's a curious thing. All right. Here we go. We're trying to find out what was like the original oral Torah on this verse, just to see what was the original. It's like we saw the movie. What does the book say? All right. Don't pervert the judgment of a ger, an orphan, and a widow. Simple, 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 simple. Ma nitzarich, ma Talmud lomar. The Sifri is asking, what are you trying to tell me? By the way, this is a very Ger verse, and I'm just not getting into it right now because I want to teach you guys the deeper side. But really, it is an amazing Ger verse. But we'll get to that. All right. So the Sifri is asking, what do I care? What are you trying to tell me? Surely it was already said, don't pervert the judgment. There's our Rashi. Remember you said that, Pam? That Rashi said, we've already learned, don't pervert the judgment. Let's see in Rashi inside. Al ha'asher kavar huzar al tita mishpat. So Rashi did not include the word, one second. No, I'm sorry. Rashi added the word, on the rich one, it was already warned, don't pervert the judgment. Scroll up, look in your English, 1 or 2. On the rich guy, it was already warned, don't pervert the judgment. Do you all see that? That is Rashi. Now we're in. You guys feel how we're getting in? We're getting a lockdown. You feel it? There's a grind, there's a gear here. We're in gear. We got in gear. So now the Sifri, the 1,000 years before, it's Devarim 24:17. That's right. He referred to that. Correct. So the Sifri is going to say, what are you asking me? And we have to assume Rashi is asking the same thing. What are you asking me? Surely it was already said. Just like Eric Bryan said. What do you mean? It was already said. So for something, now do you see it? Oh, so now we got a problem. A very good problem. Now we're talking. Eric Bryan's on cue. We got to go look at 1619. Hold on. We're going to go there in 2 seconds. You guys feel it? You feel the overdrive kick in? All right. So we're going to go there in 2 seconds. Watch this. It was already said, which is begging the question, hey, boys and girls, it's not here. It's somewhere else. We're going to go look. It's not supposed to make sense here. We're missing information. Do you see what I'm getting at? You are not supposed to understand this. There's another verse involved. You cop this. There's another world involved that we didn't tell you was here. So when you go to look at the art scroll, number one thing I want to check out in art scroll, are they going to tell me? Are they going to make this known? 1 or 2. You with me? You feel the burn? Okay. Not with me. The question implied, but you are with me. Not with me. Yes, no, hey, maybe, I don't know. Hey, all right, let's go. Don't pervert the judgment. Rashi says a rich person. The Sifri doesn't mention that. That's like problematic thing number 1. By the way, you can and probably should be taking notes when I teach to keep up, the mental notes. You should probably be jotting stuff down. Just word of advice. Malamin shekul amata dino shel ger. And this teaches you that everybody that perverts the din, the judgment, okay, understood, of the ger, if you mess up the ger, you commit 2 crimes, right? I called Pam no good, and therefore I committed 2 crimes, whatever they are, right? Number 1, you insulted a person. Number 2, you insulted a woman. Or whatever it is, whatever the crime is, you got 2 things wrong, and you get lashes 2 times. You follow that? That's on the ger part. That's on the ger part. Now let's go back to Rashi. V'shana ba'ani. And the poor guy, lavor alav v'shnei lavin. Loti the mishma v'shani ba'ani. V'lo v'al ha'asher kavar husar. Loti the mishpat. V'shana ba'ani lavor v'shana ba'ani. Yeah, we're going to really need to see that verse. That's going to be good to see that verse. Shnei lavin lafi shenika lahatot mishpat ani yoter mish. Wow. This is getting good now. Hold on. V'shana ba'ani lavor alav shnei lavin lafi shenika lahatot mishpat ani yoter mishel asher lechach his here v'shana alav. Oh, asher kavar huzar loti the mishpat v'shana ba'ani lavor alav. Aha. Okay. I got it. I'm just reading Rashi. The ger is considered somebody poor because they're not really in Israel, right? The ger is someone who came from afar to come within. Remember the ancient kind of pshat. Remember, we're not getting into who the character is. We're just saying it's some stranger coming in, right? He probably doesn't have assets. He's a Syrian refugee, doesn't have assets. If you then say, that's it, and I say, hey, it sucks to be in a war zone like you. You to come into my house is going to cost you $5,000 a month. If you want to go back to Syria, you can go back to Syria. Don't do that. You're perverting the judgment. So on the poor guy, it's two lashes. I committed 2 crimes, or two lavin. I got 2 crimes. See it? By the rich guy, it may not be as severe. We're gonna have to look at that verse. That's what the thing is begging. It says we already learned it on the rich guy. So here we have the poor guy, the ger, the widow, and the orphan. The orphan doesn't have a dad to take care of him. The widow, her husband bounced on her, right? And the ger has no parents. You cop this, 1 or 2. So it's a serious thing. Don't pervert this person. Okay. Okay. That's Rashi. You guys feel comfortable with Rashi now? As for Rashi itself, what Rashi's words mean, we're coming to say that, we didn't mention the poor guy before, and you cannot pervert the judgment of the poor guy, and we already said somewhere else you cannot pervert the judgment of a rich guy. But the Midrash Halacha seems to be wording it different. Here we go. Why are you bringing this now? Why? Because we already mentioned the rich guy. He's asking the same question. Al-Tita Mishpat. But he didn't say it was a rich guy. The Sifri says, we already learned, don't pervert judgment. Rashi says, we already learned, don't pervert judgment on a rich guy. Why did Rashi put rich guy? Or you can say, why did the Sifri not say rich guy? 2 ways of saying the same thing. You understand that? Why? You can either say, why did Rashi add a word? Or why did the Sifri not put in a word? Either way you look at it, these 2 guys are not saying the same thing, but they seem to be drawing from the same source. And it's the verse that I refuse to look up until we're ready, which is going to come about 3 minutes. And it should have the missing information there. Because remember, there's no argument amongst the sages. They just brought the same Torah from the same sources, but edited it differently. You cop that? They brought the same stuff, but just brought it down in the copy and paste job a little different. Here we go. Why would you bring this verse? We already said, don't pervert judgment. So he's saying in the ger part is ger. Okay. He said whether it's poor, whether it's rich. Okay, very good. So that's the Sifri. Let's now see a Midrash Gadol. We just did Coke, now we're in Pepsi. You see my analogy there? Coke and Pepsi, just the same thing, different flavor. Here we go. Same verse, everything's the same, just a different company. Don't pervert the judgment of the ger and the orphan. If you pervert the judgment on the ger, you did 2 crimes. Sound familiar? 1 or 2? It's vaguely familiar, correct? Okay. But if it was an orphan ger, you commit 3 crimes. That's something new. And in the second part with the widow, whether it was poor, whether it was rich. Okay. Stop right there. So now let's go. And we got to open up the Chumash. And Pam's going to come on board over here. And let's go to our verse. Where is that, Eric, Brian? Where's that verse again? 16:19. Pam, let's go.
Want me to read
Eric,
it?
you better not be lying to us. Eric's telling us to look at 16:19, and we're expecting to find some kind of revelation over there.
Want me to read it?
Eric's paying for it if it's not there. Oh, Eric's he did good. All right, so Pam goes 16:19. Everyone follow along. 16:19 in Dvarim. Pam, go real slow. Let's go.
Thou shalt not wrest judgment. Thou shalt not respect persons. Neither shalt thou take a gift, for a gift does blind the eyes of the wise, and pervert the words of the righteous.
Okay. So here we go. Don't pervert judgment. Isn't that what we're saying? 1 or 2. That's what we're saying, is it not? Everybody? Jacques, you with us? How you doing? Everybody here? How are we all doing? Anyway, any questions yet? It does. That's right. Everybody here, how we doing? Any questions? The poor man can't bribe. Yeah, that's the bottom line. Poor man can't bribe you. That's what King David says all the time in Psalms. Right? Don't forget the poor nations out there, because they don't have they can't do anything. No one's protecting them. So Solomon the Mashiach has to do it. Let's look at Rashi over here, just to see if anything comes up. Don't pervert judgment. He says, as it sounds, literally. Okay. All right. So everyone's saying that our verse now, our little rabbit trail, it's literal. Don't pervert judgment. Everyone knows what that means. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to figure that out, and you certainly don't need to make it a Facebook meme. Let's go back to our verse, and now we have a little bit more clarity. Right? A little more clarity. All right, so Pam, go ahead and read our verse in 24:17, and now we're looking pretty good. We're understanding things. Go ahead. Go real slow again, and pay attention to what's implicit here. Go ahead.
Okay, let me get it located here. 24:17. Thou shalt not pervert the justice due to the stranger or to the fatherless, nor take the widow's raiment to pledge.
So here, Brian, you're saying that our verse that you recommended was a rich guy. And you're saying that our Gator is a poor guy. Are you standing by your words? All right. Everybody hear Eric Brian over here? What he said? Anybody not hear Eric Brian? He's saying that our verse in chapter 16, that guy can pay, as Robin said, the politician can handle himself, little dodgy stuff, but he's looking out for his own behind. Our Gare friend over here, he doesn't have the luxury of chapter 16, does he? He does not have this luxury. Neither is the widow, and neither is the orphan. So we got two kinds of perversions. There's the rich guy and the poor guy, which is it's very nice because no one said that explicitly, but you're expected to know that. That's just called kind of like a basic level wisdom. See how the Torah requires you to have a certain wisdom? Now here's why it's special. Listen to this. Let's say your rabbi is teaching in the Torah, and he says chapter 16, verse 5, whatever it is, Bob married Jane. Bob was a chacham. And you say, show me inside. Eric Brian says, Rabbi, show me inside. Where does it say that? Where does it say that, Rabbi? I say, well, Eric Brian, it doesn't say it. So you're doing witchcraft, Rabbi Katz. Rabbi Katz is doing witchcraft. No, Eric, it's not witchcraft, actually. It's called chachma. It's called wisdom of the Torah, right? As I say, right? You say, no, it's not. It's witchcraft. It doesn't say it there. You made it up. You're trying to trick us. Do you see now? I know it's a fine line, a dodgy thing to do, but you see how the verse was wisdom, and yet nobody really said it. Now, we're saying it over here, but no one would have thought to look in 24:17 because we were only on chapter 16 in a fictitious date and time and place. I would say this guy's obviously rich. You see how somebody might be led to believe that there was a rich guy? 1 or 2. Like Eric said, it's a rich guy. And it can become a big debate. It didn't say it's a rich guy, but okay, Rabbi Katz is making up Torah like a rich guy. If you look a little deeper, right? Look for the footnotes over there, and you'll see in 24:17, Rashi's going to say here it's a poor guy, and over there it's a rich guy. So do you see how, even though it's not written, it doesn't need to be written, you can still get it. And if you're right and you look a little deeper, you'll find where it's written every time. You see that? It's a very important thing. You got to be willing to go with the truth. And even though you might not prove it now, if you feel it's true, God will reveal it to you. Because one day you're going to come into 24:17 and you're going to say, oh, there it is. There it is, There it is. It is written. I was not a witch. Eric's the witch. That's okay. Just kidding. Good call, Eric Bryan. You called that pretty good. So now let's do Rashi and see if it makes more sense. Okay? You guys ready? Think Rashi's gonna make more sense now? Let's go. Don't pervert the judgment of the Ger Yitom. Eric Bryan wants us to believe this is a poor guy. One or two. So I'm supposed to read this and say, I'm a thinking man. I'm a meditating man. I'm not a moron man. And I believe that the pshat of Ger is he's a poor guy. Right? Pshat. We're not talking Ger, great guy, and the Noahides are wonderful people. Right? Remember, this is the ancient villages of the shtetl. I'm reading this as a shtetl rabbi. The Ger is a poor guy. And now do you see how the translation problems happen? Because in 2006, that's right. So in 2016, you guys aren't Gerim. You guys are just Noahides. The Gerim are the poor people. You see how easy it is to make that mistake? Gerim are poor people. You say, but Rabbi Katz, I'm not poor. I'm a billionaire. No, you're a poor person. Or you're not a Ger. You see what I'm saying? So the rabbi would look at this, he would just say, Ger equals poor person, period. And they would argue this. And I want to know what ArtScroll is going to say. Don't forget that one. Rashi, va'al ha'ashir kavar huzar al tita mishpat. Is that wonderful? Everyone give Rashi a round of applause on this. You see it? You see it? Rashi's saying we already talked about a rich guy. Because Rashi consulted Eric Bryan. You're saying, look, 20 minutes ago, we were all accusing Rashi of witchcraft and saying, where does he get the rich guy? Where is Rashi getting the rich guy? What rich guy? Which rich guy? I don't know rich guy. If you would have read the footnote, you would have said, of course there was a rich guy. This is a poor guy. V'shana ba'ani, da'avor alav v'shnei lavin. And the Torah came back over here and said, the ani, the poor guy, you get 2 strikes against you. L'fi shenika le'atod mishpat ani yoser mishel ashir l'kach yizer v'shana alav. The rich guy, you get 1 sin for perverting judgment. The Ger poor guy, it's 2. So the Torah came back to repeat it. Isn't that nice? Seriously. Isn't that nice? You see, Rashi worked. But we still have a problem. We don't understand the poor Ger orphan is 3. The one commentary says 3, and the Rambam passes that way, but we're not there yet. So hang tight. That will be, if we don't get there in this class, you can look it up, and you'll see it is 3 if he's a poor orphan. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yes. And read your words. Yes. If he's a poor, that's right. Yes. Texan Gear. Yes. That's right. You got a good. That's a good cop. You guys got a cop what he said? If you get all conditions, poor Gear orphan, you get 3 strikes. You get 3 sins. Right? You're a lowly, poor, fatherless, whatever. Okay, thank you. You insulted me 3 times, so you got 3 sins. Way to go. Very good cop. Now we got to go back. Now, aren't you really curious to find out what the Sifri is talking about? You see that? You see the burning question getting more burning now? What is he talking about? We got Rashi. Rashi's cool. What is the Sifri saying? Ready? Everyone hear the question? We're just going back and forth. There's nothing new here. Back and forth. It's ping pong. Ping pong. We didn't understand the question. Now we do. We're saying, okay, Rashi understood the Chumash, and he went to a previous verse. Someone must have told him. We're looking for that source that told him, and let's see what happens. Ready? Why? The Sifri says, why do I need to know this? Isn't that what Rashi's saying also? Even without him literally saying it? We already know a rich guy. Why is the Torah repeating this? I thought Gerim have a lot of money. Hear the question? Ger's a rich guy. What's the problem? Okay. Ma Talmud Lomar, what is it coming to say? Surely it already said, don't pervert judgment. And it doesn't say rich guy. You hear the difference? Rashi says like Eric Bryan. The Sifri is not saying like Eric Bryan. The Sifri is saying, I never saw it written. Did you see it written? I never saw it written. Where did you see it written, Eric Bryan? Where did you see it written? I never saw it written. Good question, isn't it? Who gave Rashi permission to say it was a rich guy? You hear the question? Even though it's implicit, fine. A rich guy can bribe. Maybe he had a rich friend. You hear what I'm saying? Our commentator here does not assume anything. No one said rich. Don't go plugging your witchcraft in here. Malama shekol hamakta dino shel ger oiver. Hear what's going on here. The Sifri is saying it's not about rich and poor. It's about ger and non-ger. You hear that? How nice was that? Rashi thinks it's a matter of poor versus rich. In the earlier verse, if a rich guy, if you don't pervert the judgment of a rich guy, he'll bribe, and the ger's poor. Gerim are poor people. The Sifri says Gerim are not poor people. Gerim are people that judges take advantage of. Rich people are people that judges don't take advantage of. It's about influence. Isn't this a great question? Are you guys in this? This is pretty cool stuff. Anybody have any questions? Any questions? Let's see from everybody. Okay. Now let's go back to Coca-Cola or Pepsi. Now that we did the Sifri. We got the Sifri good. We got the Sifri really good. Now let's find out what he was talking about over here, because we don't even know. Tex and Garrett got it, though. Let's go ahead and see what we find. Okay. Don't pervert the judgment of the ger yitom. We learned that everyone that perverts the judgment of a ger is over on 2 strikes. Midrash Gadol says like who? Rashi or Sifri? Let's hear it. Everyone type. Midrash Gadol, where I'm at now, is saying like Rashi or Sifri. No. Sifri. Rashi says rich guy. Sifri says ger guy. Midrash Gadol, the book I'm in now, the alternate flavor, says that don't pervert the judgment of a ger. If you do, you got 2 sins. Is that Rashi or is it Sifri? Rashi says rich guy, Sifri says ger guy. No, it's the Sifri. Remember, Rashi says the ger is poor, and the opposite of the ger is rich. Here, we're not saying the ger is rich or poor. He's just ger. We don't like gerim. We don't like gerim. So it's more strict if you insult a ger because you don't like a ger rather than a non-ger. Or Rashi says differently, it has nothing to do with ger versus non-ger. It has to do with rich guy versus poor guy. No distinction in Sifri to the wealth of the ger. Rashi says wealth. That's exactly right. Eric Bryan's got it. So now do you understand when we said pshat and drush? We can make a case. A ger is a poor person in the pshat, correct? Gerim are poor people. That's the pshat. And some people would say gerim aren't poor people. Gerim are people that get taken advantage of in court. That's the drush, an alternative view. Just alternative. I just don't like to say they're poor people. I'll say a different case. They're not poor. They're just not liked. Easy to take advantage of. Zamana Shtetl 1,000 years ago. This is the ger. You follow me? All right. So then he says, like Texan Ger says, if you do it and he's also fatherless, he gets 3 strikes. Now that's nice. Texan Ger, calling on you. Do you understand why 3 sins happen if you insult the ger? And why Rashi only said 2? Why did this guy say 3 and Rashi said 2? Because Rashi doesn't have ger-itis. Rashi is afraid of poor people. But if you're allergic to gerim, that's what Rashi says. But this verse is saying gerim are taken advantage of. And therefore, if you do it, if you just regularly take advantage of a ger, it's 2 strikes. But if he's also fatherless, you really hate gerim. You did 3 sins. You see that? If you're just a total ger hater, 3 sins. Okay, I moderately hate gerim, 2 sins. Rashi doesn't give you a 3rd sin. It's either rich, I took advantage of you, or poor, I took advantage of you. We don't get a 3rd sin for really, really, really taking advantage of poor people. You see it? If I took every last dollar from this ger, that does not equate to a 3rd sin. You got this? He took every cent of the ger. That is not a 3rd sin. That is just 2 sins. I don't care if I took $5 or if I took $1. Whereas if it's to someone that doesn't like ger, it can go as far as 2 sins, 3 sins. Okay. So that's interesting. So the question begins. So we've really found the question. The question is, ger is either rich and poor, or it's vulnerable versus less vulnerable. Rich person, poor person, ger person, non-ger person. All right, so there's that. There's a couple more books we can look at to find out where Rashi got this from. And let's look in the Targum Yonasan. Actually, you know what? I want to look in the Onkelos first. 24:17. Lo tata mishpat ger 17. Okay, here's the Aramaic. You guys ready for the Aramaic? La tatzli din giura v'yatama v'lo v'la tisav mishkona. Hold on. La tatzli din. So don't mess with the din of the ger. V'yitma and the yitom. So basically, don't pervert the justice of the ger and the orphan. All right, there's nothing jumping off the page over there. Targum Yonasan, another commentary, 24:17. And let's see what it says. Lo tita mishpat ger yitom umanav lo yimashkin echad mechem kasub. He's not going there. He actually quotes the Onkelos in the original Aramaic. All right. So now let's refine the search, and let's just see what we find in the Mikros Gedolos, all the commentaries. Let's see how other commentaries are learning it. Does that make sense to you? Does that make sense? See how the other commentaries want to learn it? Okay. Because we still haven't found where Rashi's getting it from. It is not yet revealed where Rashi's getting it from. Perish Shema Tamar Kevan Shitzivoni Hashem Leger. Atadino Schut. Tamar Lomer Lo Tidam. Vegamar Omer Velo Devo Beta. Okay, this is the Or HaChaim commentary, one of the later commentaries. Hashem makes special commandments in the Torah to protect the ger, right? 46 times the Torah says, don't mess with the ger. So he sounds like he would be an advocate if it's a ger issue and maybe not a poor issue. Sforno. Be'ez hariv hazar be'elu shalo yistavu l'tani mivnei shabelosim v'vedon picha l'olam nothing there. Nothing there. Nothing here. Okay, big gun last is the Ball of Turim. I've been saving this one for last. How many of you guys know the Ball HaTurim? You guys hear the Ball of Turim commentary? It's one of the famous ones. He gives a lot of gematrias and hints and letters. This is one of the ones I like the most on this particular verse. Ger yitom, v'lo amar ger v'yitom, v'emer lecha ger shen is gayer kekatan shenoi l'dami. Okay, look in the Hebrew. Everyone look in the Hebrew of 24:17. Give me all ones when you got it. 24:17. Okay? Okay. Notice, do you see the word ger? Type 1, you got ger? Everyone type 1, when you see the word ger, give him a resh, verse 17. And the next word, yatom, yud, taf, vav, mem, which means orphan. Everyone give me a 1 when you see it. The Baal Turim says, hey, everybody, did you notice that it doesn't say the ger and the orphan? That doesn't say veyitom? Did you guys all see that? It doesn't say ger and the orphan, it says ger orphan. He says the reason why is to say to you, ger shen is gayer is like a newborn child. A ger who becomes ger is like a newborn child. So look at this. A ger, by definition, is an orphan. Right? The guy became ger. Let's call it a convert for now. He'll leave his old life and his parents behind, and he's a new soul, and he has no parents. It's a convert. See how we're going to call it a convert ger? In the pshat? It's a good convert ger, correct? Classic ger shen is gayer. Meaning a ger who became ger. He was already a ger, became more ger. He left his parents behind, newborn child. Would you say that the pshat is it's a convert? And we have an argument. No, the widow we're not bringing it here. The convert here, or the ger here. Hold on, we're going to get to a text in ger. Hold on. We got an argument if it's poor or if it's ger. On another argument, right? We don't know if we care about this commandment because he's poor or because he's ger. Right? With me? So our convert here, we're going to say he's a convert. Eric Bryan, Texan ger, David Doan. Is our convert poor or is our convert just a ger? I don't like converts. Which one is it? Where's my discrimination? Do I just dislike converts? No. You can't go there. It's a convert. It's a convert. So do I hate converts or do I hate poor people who are converts? How do you know? Maybe he's poor. Maybe I think converts are poor. I just don't like poor people. How do you know? No, there's no orphan. The orphan only means that he has no, it's like he's a newborn child. Because it doesn't say the vav. There's no widow here. The Baal Turim commentary is not speaking about the widow aspect. The widow is every commentator makes the widow a separate piece of the verse, separate everything. All the commentaries break it up to the orphan and the ger, and the widow is a totally separate piece. Do I hate Converts are poor people. So here we go. Ready? How many of you guys are following my Facebook? I don't know if I put it in English actually, but or my class last night. Who saw the 2-hour class of the Rashba? 2-hour class. Remember what the Rashba said? A ger who was like born, right? It can always be a convert. It can always be a ger toshav non-Jew, like regular ger or convert. Remember I said that? The Rashba commentary said all language ger who becomes ger. It can either be a convert or it can be ger as we know ger. So I'm going to throw a wild premise to you guys. Ready? Eric Bryan, you ready to get crazy? Are you ready to get crazy? Maybe Rashi is talking about one type of ger, either the convert or the non-Jew. And the other opinion is the other kind of ger. Two different things, poor people and ger people, is another way of saying ger non-Jew, ger convert. Two opinions for two kinds of ger. Rashi was talking about one kind of ger. The other opinion was another kind of ger. See, it is every time. Every time. Every time. It depends on which kind of ger you're looking at. Exactly. You need to know what ger was Rashi's ger. And Sifri, what ger was their ger? So we never found out where Rashi got it from. We got it good, though. We got it really good. Let me just think if I can find one more place to look for Rashi. Hold on a second. Let me look at that 16 again. Brian, where was that again? 16 where? 16 what? 1619. I want to go to 1619. Let's see if we can figure out Rashi real quick. Then we're going to go to our scroll. $16.19. Here we go. Don't pervert judgment. Rashi, lo tita mishpat kamashmo. No, he's just saying, Eric, you hear it? Does Eric Bryan hear the Chiddush? Wow, this is nice. Rashi says, how do we know the guy's rich? Eric, how do you know it's rich? How do you know he's rich? It sounds like it, he says, right? The verse sounds like it's a rich guy. That's what Rashi says. When you're talking about bribing judges, it's not a poor guy. It's a rich guy. So if Rashi is comparing us to this verse, then how does Rashi understand the ger over by us in 24:17? Rashi would say, hey, what does it sound like? One or two. What does it sound like? Just what does it sound like? Sounds like a poor guy. If this is a rich guy, it's a poor guy. So, you want to know why it's not a ger non-Jew? I'm guessing. Or maybe it is. I don't know. Rashi's going to say, what does it sound like? What does our guy sound like? The al ha'ashir, on the rich guy, it was already stated, don't pervert the judgment. And it came back on the ba'ani, on the poor guy, la'avor alav, Mishnei lavin, lafi shenekol lados mishpat ani yoiser, mishel ashir, l'chein lazir v'shana alav. Rashi would say, what does it sound like to you? Does it sound like, it's a poor guy, not a rich guy? Is he poor because he's a wannabe Jew? That's how we're gonna degrade this guy. He's a fake wannabe Jew, or are we saying he's a goy? Get him out of here. He's not even Jewish. See, we're perverting the judgment on this ger. What's the bias? What's the problem? You see? What's the problem with him? In fact, you know what? There's one book we didn't look at yet. It's a Talmud. I wonder if there's a Talmud on this. Remember I told you we're missing one book? So I got to rebound? Let's look it up real quick. 24:17. Ready? Gemara. Here we go. Let's close Rashi. We're looking up at the Talmud, this verse, 24:17. Of Metzia and Sanhedrin. Yep. There we go. There's a Rashi in this too. What's that? But Metzia 113a. He's on the widow. That's not us. And this one is 24:17. Sanhedrin 21a. Right. Where's it at? Oh, yeah. Plus, a lot of verses here. Hold on. 24:17. Where is it? There it is. Here it is. Who is he? Dalid. Also the widow. Now here, Eric Bryan, you're good, because at the widow, remember I said, everyone said whether it's rich and whether it's poor. That's going to be the answer. You're right. I guarantee you're right. But wait 1 second. Getting 49b. Getting 49b. Eric is definitely the hero today, because I think you're right. Definitely right. Getting 49b. Eric is definitely right. Watch this. Watch this. This is going to be good. Eric is right. And it's not Rashi. Yeah. 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 Let's go back to the Sifri. Here's the Sifri. Watch this. Eric's going to hit it home right here. On the widow, Bain Ania, Bain Shira. Whether she's poor or rich, you cannot take advantage of her. So now, one second. Whether she's poor or rich. Yes. Yes. Eric. Everyone give a round of applause to Eric. The Sifri wants to say the widow, we don't care if she's rich or poor. Eric, why? Because she's just a widow. It has nothing to do with rich or poor. She's a widow. So remember what Sifri said? It's just a ger. It's just a ger. Ger is a ger is a ger. Widow's a widow's a widow. And Rashi's saying rich and poor. So it's the universal ger. It's the Rashba ger. The Balaturim ger. It's every ger in our verse for the Sifri. Beautiful? Look how beautiful that is. Until you knew the Rashba, there could be any kind of ger. So, ladies and gentlemen, what is the ger according to the Midrash Halacha of 24:17? Is it a convert? Is it a non-Jew? Or is it both? Let's hear it. Don't hold it back. Let's go. Everybody? Convert, non-Jew, or just both? It's every kind of ger. It's every kind of ger. Rashi now that's a good so in the Ger Light series that we're doing this for, the 24:17 ger is a both-sided ger. It's a Jewish ger and a non-Jewish ger. By the Rashba, implicit in the Balaturim, by the fact that we don't care if he's rich or poor, it's just ger, one or two. Just ger. Rashi He was rich over there. He's poor over here. So it has nothing to do with ger. He's a poor person. So Rashi actually, you know what it is for Rashi? Remember Rashi's definition? What is Rashi's famous definition of ger? A stranger who leaves his people to come to a strange place is a ger. Rashi is super literal here. It's not even a ger tzedek or ger toshav. It's a stranger or sojourner. He is so poor, he's not there. You see it? It's the most literal ger possible. The Rashi definition ger. What do you guys think about that? Pretty nice, isn't it? He's just a stranger. He left his people to come here. Don't take advantage of this guy. So can we make a case that the ger movement today are Rashi's ger? 100%. We left the church. We left idolatry. We're at the Nativ house. You know, we're coming around Jews. Just don't take advantage of us. Or could it be the Sifri ger? It's every kind of ger. Oh, Triva ger, convert ger, every kind of ger. You see now how the Sifri and Rashi both, that's right. Eric Bryan, why didn't you know this? What does Rashi say? Kamashma. It sounds like Gary said. It sounds like a rich guy. What is it? What is he saying? He's saying, what does ger sound like? Ger sounds like stranger. It doesn't say Toshav. It doesn't say Tzedek. It doesn't say based into the Rashba and Rashi and all. It just says stranger, sojourner. And you know what? The bold term says he might become settled by you. You might have a stranger. It just doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't go away. Gershon is Geyer. He's just really here. Packed up, settled down, and here he is. Why do you have to get technical with him? Why is it your business to get in his business? Why can't you just accept it? And for that matter, turn back a couple verses, everybody, before we go to our scroll. I want you to look at, hold on, where was it? Just saw it. Hold on a second. Yeah. Pam Rogers, please come up to the mic and read 24:14.
That's what I thought you were looking for. Okay. Thou shalt not oppress a hired servant that is poor and needy, whether he be of thy brethren or of thy strangers that are in thy land within thy gates.
How do you like that? How do you guys like them apples? Rashi, here we go. James Gosnell, I hope you're actually in this class, because this is the Alter Rebbe 101. Now we found our secret Rashi. Pam, go ahead real slow, and I'm going to bring the Rashi in with you. I'm going to stop you when I feel like it, so pay attention. Go ahead, real again, slow.
Thou shalt not oppress a hired servant.
Stop. Don't oppress hired servant. Rashi, surely it's already written. Rather, it's coming to say on the poor people, the destitute, with two lavin. See, this is where Rashi got it from. He's saying it's the same gear all the way through here. If he's really poor, that's two strikes. And he says, don't oppress the hired worker. And wow, James Gosnell, I hope you're really here, man. I see your name here. But he says the hired worker, just like I'm going to put in the recording, just I'm going to make you listen to this if you're not here. The hired worker. You guys ever hear Ger Toshav? How many guys ever hear Ger Toshav? About the Jubilee year, right? And if he's going to work in the land of Israel, he's got to give up idolatry. and he cannot make the Jew coffee on Shabbos. That's called a sachir, a worker. And in the time of the Jubilee, he's called ger toshav because he's living here and he's got rights. And Rashi's saying, if you abuse that poor guy, and he's ger toshav, but not here yet, he's just called poor guy, then it's two sins. And he's saying, how do you know what a worker is? Well, why are you working for money? Isn't it because you're poor? Why are you here building the Jewish guy's patio? Don't you have better things to do? You must be poor. Keep going. Wait. Sorry. No. Sorry. My bad. And on the rich guy, you are already warned, do not oppress your friend. So a really rich guy that's got some, dignity, clout, he's your friend. You're equal. The poor guy, he's hatalev the kol davar. He's just hungry for everything. Right? My friend's like, hey, Eric, let me help you build your patio, buddy. I'm an expert. I'll help you out. Get you some good tiles. The other guy is like, hey, man, I need $5. You need anything I can do? You can build my patio. All right, man, I'm on it. I need $5. You got $5? You guys hear the difference? 1 or 2? Hear the difference? 1 or 2? Everybody, 1 or 2? I'm going to help Eric build his patio because he's my good buddy Eric. Or I'm literally saying, hey, man, you got something I can do because I really need $5. You want me to go to the store and get you some milk, eggs, anything? What can I do, Eric? Come on. I can do a job for you. That's the difference between rich and poor, according to Rashi. Capiche? All right. Migercha. Pam, go ahead. Read the rest of the verse. Go ahead.
That is poor and needy, whether he be of thy brethren or of thy strangers.
Stop. From thy stranger, migercha. This is the ger tzedek, says Rashi. From your ger. This is ger tzedek. Ladies and gentlemen, weren't we just talking about a hired worker? A poor guy? 1 or 2? And what did I teach in the Rashba or in the online class tonight? A slave who takes on slavery, takes on the mitzvahs of a woman, he is called ger tzedek. Do you remember that? Vilna Gaon, Shulchan Aruch? So when Rashi says this is the ger tzedek, is it the convert who's building my patio? Let's go make some good Jewish converts to build my patio. What do you guys say about that? We don't like fake Jews, right? What do you think, guys? Should we make some Asher Mesa, the convert maker, fake converts to build my patio? Or is Rashi saying, look, people get poor. They get stuck. They may even get in slavery, man. So he doesn't want to be a slave. So he takes on the mitzvahs like a woman, and he's called ger tzedek. Which one do you think? Pretty powerful, isn't it? Pam, finish the verse.
That are in thy land within thy gates.
Bisharecha ze ger toshav ha'ochel nevelas. This is the ger toshav that eats nevela. There you go, Jacques. You guys want to hear a mind-blowing chiddush? You want to hear a mind-blowing chiddush? This is the kind that'll get you killed and exiled. The ger toshav here is the ger who eats nevela because it's a mitzvah to give the meat to the ger. This is your kosher Noahide ger toshav. The ger tzedek is your slave. Do you hear this? There's no convert here. Do you hear this? There is no convert here. Do you hear this? There is no convert here. The slave guy is in the... Therefore, when people say, oh, I'm a ger tzedek. Oh, so you're a slave. You're only a ger toshav. No. The ger toshav here is the holy ger toshav who eats nevela, because that's the one mitzvah he doesn't take on in order to do Avodah Zorah 64b. to get tzedakah from the Jew. He dafka doesn't do it, just to help the Jew. The other guy is a slave who doesn't want to be embarrassed to be a slave. He's fixing your patio. This is insane. Do you hear how insane this is? Do you hear how insane this is? Now we're going to read the Sifsei Chachamim on that Rashi. V'ke'elu amar, and as it says, O ger megircha, O asher be'artzecha, O b'sharecha. I know this verse. This is the one from Bava Metzia 111b. I've taught on this a million times. Wow, man, this is nuts. I know this one. O machicha, O megircha, asher. Oh, wow. Wow. This is one of the first sources I ever did. This is the Ger Tzedek source, guys. This is mind-blowing. Wow, we're going to go over the time limit tonight because this is worth it. As it says, it says from your ger, or that's in your land, it's in your gate, because that, or it's in your gate, it's on the ger toshav, and or it's your ger, it's on the ger tzedek, and both of them are prepared in the name of ger. Both of them are called ger. As is explained in your gate, after it comes after the word and from your ger, before that of your land, teaches on the schar, on the wages of his animals and his vessels as he's helping you out, and not on his wages itself. And therefore, the narbi, it increases from your land, the schar behema, the ilav sharecha. Okay. This is heavy. Asher b'sharecha, asher b'sartzecha, l'rabos schar behema. Okay. Watch this. You guys want to go nuts? Anyone got anywhere to go? Want to do something really nuts? This is nuts. You've never seen nuts. You've seen this. This is nuts. I've been teaching this one for years, and I will tell you right now, I have got it wrong. Not that it's a bad thing. It's just now I got it really right. I mean, really right. I mean, this is shocking. Oh, there he is. You hear this, James? The Hissel pistol. Bava Metzia 111b. James, you and I have done this a couple times. Me'achicha. Remember I talked about, you may have heard me over the years, this and that, about the ger who's from your brother. Man, we unpacked the mother lode tonight, guys. We have unpacked the mother lode. From your brother, that is not the goy, not a cherem, mamash goyim. So you're the Jews and not goyim. Got it? We're doing an algorithm here. The verse says from your brother. I heard Pam Rogers say from your brother. We're doing Tosfos here on 111b in Bava Metzia. Machicha, Rashi is saying, don't oppress the worker. Oh, James Gosnell. James Gosnell, where have you been all my life? The Alter Rebbe gives us now, finally, 111b is open. When it says from your brother, don't oppress the worker, the ani, the poor guy, the slave from your brother. The ger toshav goy as the level of your brother. That's why it's a mitzvah l'chiyuso. He's a poor guy conquered, coming to Israel, building my patio. Okay? He is called your brother. He is an akum even. You hear the chiddush here. He is an akum. But the reason why he's your brother is because he rejected idolatry to build your patio, and he's not your Shabbos goy to make you a cup of coffee. But if he's a goy, he doesn't want to reject idolatry to build my patio, he is an idolater. He is not my brother. The chiddush is even the Shabbos goy is called your brother. And the ger toshav, this is the one that eats nevela, right? The ger in your gate. Hey, Jacques, you ever hear Parshas Ray? That's what Rashi's quoting. The ger in your gate, you give him the meat. You guys on this? You hear what's going on? I'll tell you what, the heavens are shaking, that's for sure. Let's go to Tosfos now. Now, finally, 5 years later, I'm about to understand Tosfos the first time. You ready for this? Who knew this? It's embarrassing. This is nuts. I thought I was done for that 2-hour class the other night. We're just starting. You can now tell everybody, yeah, after we lock down gear, we're just starting. We're just starting. From your brother, not the Acherim. That's kind of weird, Tosfos says. Why? Why is that strange? It's Terich. You got to know this. Me'achicha lemiute akum. So we say from your brother. He's working on your patio. He came from Syria. He rejected idolatry. He doesn't make me coffee on Shabbos. But it's not the akum who has not rejected Avodah Zarah. That's why the Torah says from your brother. Yeah, James. Ger Toshav. Why didn't you just say from Ger Toshav? He's a Ger Toshav. He's the Alter Rebbe Ger Toshav. He's the Alter Rebbe Ger Toshav. Why didn't you just say Ger Toshav? Nafka de Dafka Ger Toshav v'lo akum. Why didn't you say Ger Toshav and not nakum? Why did the Alter Rebbe say it, James? Just say Ger Toshav and not akum. V'otei mamay yitzrich l'michtav Ger Tzedek. So say Ger Tzedek, the slave who takes on the female mitzvahs. Meger Toshav Nafka, the kosher king Ger Tzedek. The Michtav, Ger Tzedek. I know, learn Ger Tzedek from Ger Toshav. Wow, James, we finally got it. If I have a slave who took on the 7 laws of Noah as a Ger Toshav, isn't that the same as the Ger Tzedek who took on just the female mitzvahs? The slave Ger Tzedek of the Vilna Gaon, Shulchan Aruch 304? So say Ger Toshav. And I learn the Sachir worker Ger Toshav and a slave Ger Toshav. James, you hear the question? This is mind-blowing. V'leik l'meimar. The ilav dachtiv Ger Tzedek hava mavina b'sharecha. L'ger Tzedek l'sharecha lo mashma ela Ger Toshav shakol nevelos dumia l'ger asher b'sharecha din ha'melacha. If I would have said Ger Toshav, and then they learned the slave from it, when it says in your gate, Basharecha, then I never would have known the kosher ger. I would have said it's all the non-kosher gerim. Slaves and workers. Where do I know the Noahide? So you can't just say learn it from the slave. You can't say that this ger of our pasuk is a slave. Because it includes the Noahide ger. So now let's go deeper. Ready? Megercha ze ger tzedek. Tema. Amai itzterich lemeimar ger tzedek. Tamachicha nafka de ger tzedek. Achicha. Kol yalma the Rebbe Yehuda. I'm just going to have 1 second and the rest of you will come right back. Okay. Ah. So Tosfos wants to know, again, the same question. Why is this language from your brother, and now we're saying from your ger? Everyone look at the Hebrew. See where it says from your ger? Megercha. Everyone see that? From your ger. Everyone 1 or 2? Look at the Hebrew. From your ger. So the question is, what does it mean from your ger? What's the drush on from your ger? And he's saying, James, this is for you before you go. Gabe ein la vadim boshis the yeshlo achua v'achicha hu b'mitzvahs. The Tosfos mentions slaves. And everyone's like, why? He's your brother in mitzvahs. The slave is your brother in mitzvahs. A worker, ger toshav, all he did was reject idolatry, not my brother. A slave who takes on the women mitzvahs, more than 7, is called ger tzedek because he took on mitzvahs that a Jew does also. How insane is that, James? The Yesh Lomar Deshani Hacha, but it's different here. The Ksima Achicha. The Mashma Memuvchar Sheba Achicha. No, it's not a slave. This is your brother. You're okay. Slaves will do mitzvahs like I do. Not all 613, but a lot. But you really think a slave is my brother? It can only be talking about my brother. A James Gosnell Noah Haiger is my brother, okay? They're not a slave. So it can't be that. Like it says in Bavakama, Mikar Achicha, Inami Machicha, Velo Ku Achicha. Maybe it's not your entire brother. Maybe he's not your entire brother. As we know, a Noah Haiger is my brother in mitzvahs that we both do together. In mitzvahs we don't do together, we're not brothers. If I wear tefillin and a ger does not, we're not brothers in that mitzvah. Kedarshina Mekadushin, Mina O Velo Kula O, Fahava, Memaita Ger. And therefore we diminished the level of ger. Hey, James, you ever hear of ger, Ksat Geras? James, you ever hear of something called Ksat Geras? We diminished the ger. He's not a total ger. He's not a total ger. Elav dechtiv gercha. V'hava mamitan ger. We would diminish the ger if it didn't say your ger. If it didn't say your ger. So we would say he's a lesser ger. But it says your ger, so that we can't say that either. So it's actually the slave built them back up, and we're stuck. By Ribi Starish ger ze ger tzedek kasha. Because if you want to say it's a lesser ger, we don't charge a ger interest. So what kind of ger is it? We don't charge him interest. He's not a slave. And he's not diminished. Because he's like your ger. So the question is, what ger? Here, now you guys hear Rashi's question? What ger? What ger? From your brother, Rashi seems to be saying it's the worker poor guy. Tosfos seems to be saying not so fast. That would be ger toshav. Kasha the Rebbe Yehuda, Amay Yitzrik. So why do we need to say ger cham, from your ger? Ger in your gate is the Noahide ger. From your brother is the worker, the Alter Rebbe ger toshav. Who is the ger tzedek? It maybe is the ksat geras, it maybe is the slave, and we're saying maybe it is someone exactly like you. We don't know. It's one of the three. Here we go. So why are you saying it at all? Just leave it out. Just say it's the ger toshav. No, you have to say it because it's there. The Mali Yisrael, Mali ger tzedek. Say it's a convert. Toshav says it must be a convert. It fits all conditions. Can't charge him interest, not a slave, and it's a ger gumor. Total ger. Total ger convert. So if me'achicha is the ger toshav worker, not the akum, your ger is the convert, and then that's the ger tzedek, and then the gate is the ger toshav who eats the velas. Maybe. Rashi says no. Rashi says no way. Rashi says no way. Rashi says it's a slave and a hired worker. This is Tosfos. The key, the kol mitzvahs, Ein ger tzedek b'klal Yisrael. Again, the key, b'kol ha-mitzvot. Ein ger tzedek b'klal Yisrael. One second. This is the whole inchpin here. The key, b'kol ha-mitzvot. B'kol ha-mitzvot. B'kol ha-mitzvot. Ein ger tzedek. That's it. B'kol ha-mitzvot ein ger tzedek b'klal Yisrael. The slave who takes on the mitzvahs does not enter Klal Yisrael. You hear that? A convert would be in Klal Yisrael, 1 or 2. A convert is a Jew, 1 or 2. A slave who takes on the mitzvahs does not become Jewish by becoming a slave. You don't slave your way in, 1 or 2. V'kein kasha de zimni ksiv le'ezrach leger, and sometimes lo ksiv. So he's saying the pshat is convert. So I did learn it correctly, but I took a totally different route last time, this time. And the alternative meaning is the slave ger tzedek. So this is not the James Gosnell, I'm just using you as an example, James, Noai ger tzedek sak gerus. Because that would be the b'sharecha, eating the vela. Like the third opinion of Avodah Zarah 64b, Ezel ger toshev. And that's b'sharecha, in your gate. So the ger tzedek can either be a convert or a slave. Rashi says it's a slave. Tosfos says it's ambiguous. It can be when it says ger tzedek, it can be a slave or it can be a convert. And Rambam says the same thing in Mishnah Torah. So me'achicha prat al-chiram gercha ze ger tzedek b'sharecha ze ochel nevelos. So ger tzedek, when it says your ger, here when it says your stranger, your convert, your ger, gercha. Everyone see where it says gercha in the Hebrew in your verse 1 or 2. Your ger. It's an Eric Bryanism. It's 2 is 1. It's another 2 thing. Your ger, literally my property. It's my ger, it's my slave. Or it's like my brother. It's one of you. Convert. Anybody ever hear the 10 Commandments? And it says rest your convert, doesn't it? Rest your ger? Gercha shemesharecha? Anybody ever wonder why the ger over there is compared to your donkey and your maidservant? And they want to say that it's the Christos 9a, it's your servant. Now you know why? You know why Rashi calls it the ger tzedek over there? It's your slave. It's the ger tzedek. It's the slave who entered slavery by taking on the mitzvahs. Anybody ever wonder why ger tzedek is an ambiguous term and no one ever explains it? You ever wonder why that is? Because it doesn't sound too PC to call your slave your ger tzedek. Because it can also be your ger, your friend, on your level, the convert. Convert has an evil stepsister. The convert ger tzedek is in duality with the slave ger tzedek. And I can show you in writing where it says that. It's on my Facebook wall. If you want to go, Shulchan Aruch 304. And the ger toshav has multiple meanings. And that's why in Avodah Zarah 64b, the ger toshav who takes on many mitzvahs is still called ger toshav and not ger tzedek, because ger tzedek leans towards slavery or conversion. Anyone see the fake Asher Meza meme last night? The ger convert, whatever, didn't take bris milah, and if he doesn't get bris milah, goes back to being an akum. Now you know why I said that was a slave. That's why it's the source. So now comes the big moment. You guys ready for the big moment? Art scroll. In the Mishnah Torah in English on Chabad, it mentions that when you take a slave, they can take on all mitzvot and go in a mikveh and be a convert going in. That's it. The language is ger. It's ger. That's it. That's it. And you asked the text in ger. You made the question in the thread on Facebook. So there's your answer. See that? There you go. You ask, you shall receive the answer to your question. 24:17. Who wants to hear art scroll? Raise your hand if you want to hear art scroll. 24:17. You shall not pervert the judgment of a convert or an orphan. In regarding the rich man, the admonition has already been given. You shall not pervert judgment. It repeats the commandment regarding a poor person to violate two negative commandments because of him. So, by the way, Rashi is talking about slaves and worker gerim. He's not talking about a kosher ger. You see that now? Rashi's talking about a really, 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 really poor ger. You get it? The hired Syrian refugee building your patio in Israel rejected Avodah Zarah, or a slave ger tzedek. You follow this? One that will have violated two prohibitions if he perverts the judgment of a poor person. Since it is easier to pervert the judgment of a poor person than a rich person. This is why Scripture stated the commandment repeated it. See if there's any footnotes on this. 3. Hold on. 3. Okay, 3. Above 16:19, that is a general commandment which applies to both rich and poor. Wow. Did you guys hear it? David Dunn, did you just hear this? The art scroll wants to say that in 16:19, it is a general commandment which applies to both rich and poor. Is that true? Did we say it's true? No, we said it's only a rich guy. Our verse here is a poor guy. Art scroll has no liberty to say that 16:19 was a poor guy. The entire point of Rashi was to say that our verse is a poor guy and 16:19 was a rich guy. Did I make my point clear? Everybody? Pam? They're dumb? Now do you understand why I got a problem with art scroll? 1 or 2? Our Rashi goes out of his way to show our verse is a poor guy. He's a slave and all this stuff. Rashi in the art scroll wants to say that our verse is a poor guy, or no, 16:19, sorry, is the poor guy and a rich guy. When Rashi makes it absolutely clear that it is only a rich guy there, and by us, only a poor guy. Let's see 16:19 in the art scroll. Let's see what they do. You shall not pervert judgment. This is to be understood as it sounds. Number 2 in the footnote. You shall not pervert judgment. You shall not take notice of someone's presence, both seem to say that judgment or unfair verdict. Rashi says this in fact meaning of you shall not pervert judgment is understood as it sounds. He goes on to explain that you shall not respect someone's presence, does not fear up to the judge's ruling. There's no redundancy. One Rashi says in 16:19, he says it right, that it's as it sounds. Later on, it's a contradiction. You see that? Inconsistent art scroll Rashis. All right, that's it, guys. What do you think? You guys learned something tonight? You guys learn something? All right. I wasn't expecting that. That's something. All right. There you have it. That was Torah Shem class for this week. Hope you guys had a good time. And it was a bit off more we could chew, it seemed like, but we got done with it.